Recently, I helped this e-commerce brand turn their dead email list into an over 3 million per year goldmine, and in this video, I'm going to show you the exact strategy that I used to do this. Here's what you can see on the screen. We've actually partnered up with them in November, right? And you might think like, yeah, November is probably highest sales. Well, no. January was their peak month in terms of the revenue, which is total revenue and, email revenue as well. So we've been scaling, month over month with them pretty much, where January was really explosive. And again, I'm going to cover all of that. But before, you can see, the email list was fairly dead. They're doing, maybe like 20K revenue per month. But in January alone, we did 262K, which is fairly insane. They're on 8-figure run rate right now. But they've done almost 1 mil in just January alone. And you can see that total revenue store growth was 15% month over month compared to December. But email revenue was 100% more. So yeah, like essentially, we made them like 262K in January, which if you take it as a run rate, it's over $3 million per year just from their emails. And you're also doing SMS for them, by the way, but this is only emails. Now, another before and after in September, they're doing 340K, and 10% of that was coming from emails, which, wasn't perfect. But the majority of that was coming from the flows. From campaigns, it was only $750. But in January, they pretty much 3x'd their total revenue. And for email revenue, they pretty much like 8x'd all of that after we took over, and the campaigns made 61K, which is fairly insane, compared to previously they're doing like pretty much no revenue at all, and right now they're doing 60K from campaigns alone every single month. Now, I'm going to cover the main areas of improvement, which are going to be deliverability, pop-up, flows, and then campaigns and segmentation. I'm going to show you everything we've done. So let's start with deliverability. Before we partnered up, it was as bad as it gets, honestly. Low open rate and high bounce rate across the board. So they had low open rate and high bounce rate for both flows and campaigns. But then we implemented our deliverability fix, which is just custom sending domain. We added the DNS records, and then we warmed up the domain. And this is what we saw within the first month, which is open rate jumping from 26.5% to almost 60% in just 1 month after implementing our deliverability fix. So yeah, the result was pretty simple. They went from 26% open rate to 60% open rate, and we have improved their deliverability or open rate by 2.25x in 1 month alone. And by the way, the volume for those emails also went up because yeah, we fixed deliverability, but the increased open rate you're seeing, which is 2.25%, is on the emails that were sent in a bigger volume than previously. So we sent more emails at a higher open rate, which really resulted in just way more sales. Now, pop-up. So unfortunately, we didn't optimize it as much as we'd like to, but this is just yet, mainly because the brand has to use Yotpo, and it doesn't offer that many options as Klaviyo does in terms of optimizing the pop-up and running A/B tests and doing the pop-up setup in general. But we still made some changes, and we ran some A/B tests that pretty much 3x'd their new subscribers within just a month, because we turned off double opt-in in September, okay? That was the first thing we've done, because overall, it took us a little bit longer to get partnered up. I mean, the brand agreed, but then they held off the paperwork to do on their side with their legal team. So it took us a little bit longer to actually get started and, start doing stuff in the Klaviyo account. But then, even though we started technically on November, we still turned off double opt-in in September, which was the first step, because we're like, okay, we know we're going to work with them, so let's help them right now, so that once we start working with them, we're going to have more subscribers in our email list, okay? Then what we've done is we have rehauled the whole design and copy, plus we have run, offer A/B tests, which took us to 33,770 new subscribers in January alone. You can see that before we were having around 11K opt-ins, right? This is when we turned off double opt-in, and this is when we started testing things, and yeah, we pretty much 3x'd their new monthly subscribers in just a few months of, improving things, and that's gonna get even beyond that after we get into Klaviyo or Alia and actually, use the right pop-ups with full screen and everything else. It's going to be way more, so I'm really excited for that as well. But even though with the current setup in Yotpo, everything we've done is just, again, design, copy, offer A/B tests, and we've taken them from 11K to 33K new subscribers per month. It may not seem like a lot, but if you think about it, it's like 22K more subs per month, 250K new subscribers per year, which is pretty crazy, okay? Now, let's go into the flows. Improving the flows really came down to 5 main things. fixing deliverability, which I already covered, then turning on double opt-in, so we have more people entering the welcome flow, but also other flows, then having more flows, having longer flows, and having better emails, okay? 5 main areas of improving flows for this brand. In October, we already had a single opt-in and deliverability was fixed. So, you can see that the revenue was slowly picking up. It went from like 35K probably to like, a little bit above, probably around like 50 something K revenue, which is very, very nice. Then our flows went live in November. Again, we had to formalize the partnership, but we didn't want this brand to lose money, so we fixed the above things before officially going live, which is both deliverability and, turning off double opt-in was done before we set our flows live. Then before and after. So before they're having 13K recipients and 33,600 revenue. Now in January, we had 128K recipients for our flows, and the flows alone made 201K in revenue. So the result is pretty simple. We 10x'd we had 10x more recipients and 6x more revenue. Again, the revenue per recipient actually decreased, but that's because previously they had like 1 or 2 emails in the flow, and right now we have 5. So like even looking at that, the revenue per recipient will decrease. But I mean, as you can see, it was worth it because the revenue went up by 6x. Like, I think it's acceptable that the revenue per recipient goes down if you take the revenue from 33K to over 200,000 per month. So yeah, it was very, very worth it. And again, it came down to having better deliverability and then having more flows and more flows in the emails themselves too. For the previous setup, they only had 3 flows, which is why the volume was so low. The welcome flow with 6 emails, which is fairly okay. Abandon checkout with 3 emails, not enough. And then browse abandonment with just 1 email, that had it had smart sending turned on, which is also not enough. Again, on top of that, some of the emails had like smart sending turned on. Sometimes it was browse abandonment, sometimes it would be some email in the welcome flow or abandon checkout. But these are the most important flows that shouldn't have it, because otherwise you're missing out on the highest intent prospects, right? That's why you need to have good filters for all of these flows, yes, but smart sending doesn't make sense because someone abandoned the checkout. You want to send them abandon checkout email regardless if they got some other email in the last 16 hours, okay? Another problem is that they had very long time delays. Their AOV is around $100-$150, so it's, not the lowest but also not the highest, like average or like middle, I would say. And 3 to 6 day time delay is huge. Like if someone is thinking about buying $100 product, and they had 6 emails, it means that the last email was sent after like 30 days, so after 1 month. And I mind you that the chances of someone buying from you after 1 or 2 days drop by like 80%. So after 1 month, they drop by like 95 or 95%, extremely low. That's why you need faster time delays, because again, this is a critical mistake. Chances of someone buying drastically drop after just the first 1 or 2 days, let alone 30 days. Now, the emails in the flows weren't optimized either, and they weren't terrible or like bad, but they were just okay, right? And this is one of the other problems where if you think you have okay setup, sometimes it's not enough. You need to have great setup. And a simple example would be they had very small buttons, which were hard to see on mobile, and that also usually results in lower click rates or less clicks in general. The content was cluttered, so it was like hard to read. And in general, these emails were just not optimized for conversions. They were looking very nice in terms of like visuals and on brand and whatnot, but they weren't really optimized for conversions, which is again like simple fixes would be making bigger buttons and spacing out the content with some more padding. Now, this is the current setup that we have for the flow, because after we took over, we did our research and came up with strategy and structure for each flow and implemented our best practices for both copy and design. And again, this is like, why having an agency is so powerful, because if you have an internal team, which was also the case for this brand, they know marketing principles, but they, for example, don't know the best practices in the email marketing space in general. But if you have like an agency like us, we see like, okay, we have a setup that works for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 brands. So we're going to implement it for this brand as well, because we know that it's currently what works right now. And it's true about all of the areas, which is pop-up, deliverability, flows, and campaigns. So we've taken all of that, all of this knowledge and expertise, and implemented it for this brand. And this is what the current setup looks like. So we have the welcome flow with 5 emails, time delay is 24 hours, but we have tested it already 3 times with 3 different setups, so we know that 1 day delay performs best. Abandoned cart, checkout, and browse abandonment, all of them have 5 emails as well. Site abandonment, 1 email. Window shoppers, 3 emails. Post purchase, 5 emails. And then 2 NPS score emails on top of that. Win back flow with 3 emails and 1 year anniversary with 2 emails. We've run and are actively running dozens of other A/B tests each month to optimize this even further, and I'm going to cover these A/B tests a little bit later on in this video, so make sure that you watch it. Now, campaigns. As you saw, like obviously flows were responsible for quite a lot of revenue, 200k per month, which is like 2.4 mil a year. That's decent, but campaigns are also picking up very, very nicely. There was one big problem. I mean, there are in general like 4 problems with campaigns. As you saw, this brand wasn't taking advantage of campaigns at all. Their campaigns in September made $700, which, compared to flows, that month made like 20 or 30k is nothing, right? And so we had to change it because there's a huge opportunity, and pretty much, this is tied to the title of the video where this list was dead. Like their flows were doing something, but campaigns were doing nothing. And this graph shows it perfectly where, total recipients, it's like probably, a few hundred people per month, maybe, which I'm going to explain why that's not a lot in just a second. But the first problem was that they were landing in spam. I already covered that. We fixed it within 1 month and, the growth was crazy. But then they were also inconsistent. So they would send 3 campaigns 1 month, then the next month they would send 6, then the next month maybe 4. They didn't really have a plan for sending campaigns consistently, having the right content being pushed every single week, which is super important. They weren't sending enough, so it's a volume issue, which is a little bit combined with, issue number 2, inconsistency. And then the segments that they were targeting were too small because their whole email list is 200k people, but they would target only 5k. So if they, send 4 emails in a month or 3 emails in a month that were sent to 5k people, that's 15k recipients. And if you look at this graph in January, we had over 1 million recipients. So this is why, being consistent and increasing the volume is important. But here's how we fixed all of those issues. Consistency, fairly simple. We just started emailing their list every single week, and we had a plan for doing so. So we prepared just a campaign calendar of, the content we want to send. The brand is also very helpful in letting us know what they want. So we're working together on the calendar, making sure that we send our top performing campaigns, but we also send out the campaigns that they need to get over and send to their list. And that is how we get consistent. We just create emails and send them. It's really that simple. No rocket science over there. For volume, we slowly, but very slowly ramped it up to the point where we're emailing their email list 3 to 4 times a week right now and get over 50% open rate in some cases. It's even 60% open rate on way bigger segments, like segment of 60 or 70k people with an open rate of 50-60%, very healthy. And then segments. This is where a lot of magic really happened. Because previously, their open 30 segment was like only 3.2k people when we took over, which is not a lot. Because if their email list is 200k people and their, opened 30 segment, which is, fairly engaged one, is only 3k people, then it's like pretty bad. They're using like, 1.5% of their email list as their engaged segment. Really bad because you're just paying for so many profiles, especially now with the latest Klaviyo billing updates. But they were using 1.5% of the list, which is just insane. So what we have done is we started expanding those segments every single week. And after 3 months, we have literally targeted every single person on the email list, which is almost 200k subscribers. And after we did it, after we went through re-engaging those prospects, sending to their open 30, 60, 90 segment, then expanding beyond that, which is targeting engaged buyers, engaged non-buyers, targeting all buyers, and ultimately targeting all non-buyers as well. We targeted every single person at least once, which is we reached and sent our emails to over 200k people. And mind you, previously they were going into the spam, so it wouldn't be that powerful. But right now we're going into the primary tab or promotions if someone is like super unengaged. But we are not going to spam. So those 200k people actually, not all of them, but a big part of them saw an email. And this graph in itself, it's a segment growth graph for the open 30 segment. You can see how we scaled it up from 3k people to 60k people being in our engaged 30 segment after just like 2 months essentially, right? Like the graph ends on the January 25th, right? But even if you look at January 5th, it was already at 40k, but then we made it 50k and then 60k. and it's extremely powerful, and I can't, I think get this message along enough, across enough. But the truth is that when you have your engaged segment being only 3K people, then every time you send it, with a 50% open rate, only 1.5K people are seeing it. So even if you have like 1% click rate, that's gonna be like 15 people clicking the email. But if you scale it up and maintain the metrics, and okay, like our click rate dropped a little bit, it wasn't as sweet as the beginning, because at the beginning it was like 2 to 4%. Right now it's around 0.8 to 1% roughly. So this is still huge, because right now every single time we send a campaign, we get between 50 to 60% open rate, which is around 30 to 40K people seeing the email instead of 1.5K people. So we're getting more eyeballs on every single email, like 38K more people are seeing every single email we send, and we send them 3 to 4 times a week. So if you multiply it, and let's, for like easy math, let's say that we have 40K more people opening our emails, and we send them 3 times a week, that's 120K more opens every single week, let alone clicks, revenue, and all of that. I mean, for the revenue, you saw that, those campaigns made 61K in just January alone, which we have taken from 700. So that's like, 10x increase pretty much in campaigns revenue by doing all of the fixes that I mentioned before. And then we have also been running A/B tests, because the initial setup was solid, but we were always looking to improve. Every single month we need to be testing things, improving, especially if you're like this brand, which is you're doing 8 figures a year, or beyond an 8-figure run rate. So we run A/B tests every single month in all core 3 areas: pop-up, offer, design, and copy, and time delay. For flows, we are mainly testing time delays, content, footer links versus no footer links, and then subject lines. And for campaigns, we're testing the offers, dynamic versus static product sections, showing more versus less products with, for example, the dynamic section, footer links versus no footer links, and then send time and day. And these are just the examples of tests. There's like way more that we're running for them. But if you want to learn more about all of the tests that we usually run and that you can run for your brand to scale your Klaviyo account, like this brand, from pretty much, 30K to over 250K per month, there's gonna be a free Klaviyo optimization guide linked below this video. Again, it's entirely free, but it's going to show you all of the tests that you need to know for your brand that you can run to improve your results. And yeah, it's entirely free, so make sure you download it. You have the exact examples of those tests, how to set them up, everything you need to know literally in this single guide, which is the most in-depth resource I have released on optimizing Klaviyo accounts, and it's free. So just download it. There's gonna be a link below this video. There's gonna be a link in the pinned comments. But if you're like this brand where you're, you just want to get more out of your Klaviyo, but you don't have team or resources to do it, you can also book a call with me and my team, because we are working with dozens of e-com brands on a monthly basis, scaling their Klaviyo, just like for this brand. So if that's you, if you're on an e-com brand and want to scale your Klaviyo further, there's gonna be a link in the video description as well. So just book a call with me. We're going to have a brief chat to see how we can help you. But that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to watch my other one, which is going to be recommended by YouTube. Cheers!